You know that feeling when you're lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, watching the minutes tick by. 1 hour passes, then 2, then 3. The frustration builds as you realize you'll be facing tomorrow on barely any sleep. Again, that was my life for nearly 7 years. I dragged myself through each day, exhausted but somehow unable to fall asleep when night came. The doctors called it chronic insomnia. I called it my personal nightmare. My name is Margaret, and at 72 years old, I finally discovered what was keeping me from the restful sleep I desperately needed. What I found changed everything. And it wasn't at all what I expected. When my insomnia began, I was 65, recently retired, and should have been enjoying my golden years. Instead, I spent my nights tossing and turning, and my days feeling like a zombie. The exhaustion was unbearable. My grandchildren would visit, and I couldn't even muster the energy to play with them. That broke my heart more than anything. I tried everything the experts recommended. I cut out caffeine completely. No coffee, no tea, not even chocolate. I established a strict bedtime routine. I bought a new mattress that cost more than my first car. I even tried those fancy sleep apps that play sounds of rainfall and ocean waves. Nothing worked. Night after night, sleep eluded me. My doctor prescribed sleeping pills, and yes, they knocked me out. But I never felt rested. I'd wake up groggy, disoriented, like I was moving through molasses. That wasn't living, it was just existing. And the thought of becoming dependent on medication frightened me. There had to be another way. The turning point came when my daughter suggested I keep a sleep journal. "Mom," she said, "write down everything. What you eat, what you do before bed, how you feel, what you worry about. Maybe there's a pattern we're missing." I was skeptical, but desperate enough to try anything. For 2 weeks, I documented everything. What I discovered surprised me. It wasn't just one thing disrupting my sleep. It was a combination of factors I'd never connected before. First, I noticed that on days when I napped, even for just 20 minutes, I struggled more at night. My body's natural rhythm was completely thrown off. As a retiree, I'd fallen into the habit of dozing off in my armchair in the afternoon. It felt so innocent, but it was sabotaging my nights. The second pattern was even more revealing. On days when I stayed indoors all day, my sleep was significantly worse. I'd retired in winter and gradually reduced my outdoor time without realizing it. My journal showed that on the rare days I spent time in my garden or walked to the market, I fell asleep faster and woke up less during the night. This led me to research something I'd never considered before: circadian rhythms. Our bodies have an internal clock that regulates sleep, and it's heavily influenced by natural light exposure. Without regular sunlight, especially in the morning, this clock gets confused. At my age, I was already producing less melatonin, the sleep hormone, and my reduced exposure to daylight was making it worse. The third revelation was harder to accept. I was lonely. My husband had passed away 2 years before my sleep problems began. The journal entries revealed how often my mind raced at night, with thoughts and conversations I hadn't been able to share with anyone during the day. The social interaction I took for granted during my working years had disappeared, and my brain wasn't ready to quiet down at night without it. These discoveries were just the beginning. Over the next few months, I completely reimagined my approach to sleep. I'd like to share the practical changes that finally brought sleep back into my life, changes that might help you too, whether you're my age or decades younger. Let's start with the light exposure pattern I established. Every morning, rain or shine, I spend at least 30 minutes outside within an hour of waking up. I have my coffee on the porch, or I walk around the block. The morning sunlight tells my body it's daytime, which later helps signal when it's time to sleep. During winter months when outdoor time is limited, I invested in a light therapy lamp, 10,000 lux, and use it for breakfast. The difference was remarkable. Next, I completely restructured my schedule to align with my body's natural rhythms. No more naps, period. Instead, I plan engaging activities for the afternoon slump period. I call a friend, work on a crossword puzzle, or do light gardening. Anything to stay gently active during those hours when I'd naturally feel drowsy. Physical activity became non-negotiable. Nothing extreme, I'm in my 70s after all. But a 30-minute walk each day, preferably outdoors, made a substantial difference. On days when weather keeps me inside, I follow along with gentle yoga videos designed for seniors. The key is consistent, daily movement, not intensity. Now, let's talk about the bedroom environment. I turned my bedroom into a sleep sanctuary. The temperature stays between 65–68 degrees, cooler than I would have kept it before. All electronics were banished. No TV, no smartphone charging next to me. The room is for sleep and sleep alone. I also discovered the power of consistent wake-up times. Not just consistent bedtimes, which most sleep advice focuses on, but consistent morning routines. I set my alarm for 6:30 a.m. every day, even weekends, even if I had a terrible night's sleep. This consistency helped reset my body's clock better than any other intervention. The hardest change addressed my loneliness. I joined a book club at the local library, volunteered at an elementary school reading program, and reconnected with old friends through weekly phone calls. Creating reasons to share thoughts and experiences during the day meant fewer racing thoughts at night. My evening routine transformed as well. 3 hours before bed, all screens go off. No news, no social media, nothing that might activate stress responses. Instead, I read physical books under warm-toned lighting. I brew a specific herbal tea blend, chamomile, lavender, and valerian root, that signals to my body that sleep is coming. One unexpected helper was a weighted blanket. My granddaughter used one for her anxiety, and I was skeptical when she suggested it for my insomnia. But the gentle, distributed pressure had an almost immediate calming effect. It's like being hugged all night long. I also developed a simple breathing technique for those nights when sleep still proves elusive. I call it 4-7-8 breathing. Breathe in through your nose for 4 counts, hold for 7 counts, and exhale through your mouth for 8 counts. Doing this cycle just 4 times often relaxes me enough to drift off. The most powerful change, though, was my mindset. I stopped seeing bedtime as a battleground. I stopped watching the clock and calculating how little sleep I'd get. Instead, I practiced something called sleep restriction therapy under my doctor's guidance. I limited my time in bed to just the hours I was likely to sleep, even if that meant going to bed at 11 and getting up at 5. Gradually, as my sleep efficiency improved, I extended those hours. Within 3 months of implementing these changes, I was regularly sleeping 6-7 hours a night, a miracle compared to the 2-3 interrupted hours I'd grown accustomed to. Within 6 months, I occasionally enjoyed 8 hours of deep, restorative sleep. The impact on my daily life has been profound. My memory improved. My mood stabilized. My relationships deepened as I had the energy to be fully present. Even my chronic arthritis pain lessened. Apparently, sleep is a powerful anti-inflammatory. Now I want to be clear. I'm not saying I never have a bad night. I do, especially when life throws challenges my way or when I travel and disrupt my routines. But those bad nights are now the exception rather than the rule. And I have tools to get back on track quickly. What surprised me most about this journey was learning that insomnia isn't just about sleep. It's about how we live our entire lives. The way we move, the light we expose ourselves to, our social connections, and the thoughts we carry with us, they all affect our ability to rest. For those of you watching who might be younger, please don't wait until you're my age to take sleep seriously. The habits you form now will either support or undermine your sleep for decades to come. And for my fellow seniors struggling with sleep, know that it's never too late to reclaim your nights. Age-related sleep changes are real, but insomnia is not an inevitable part of aging. Looking back on my journey from chronic insomnia to restful sleep, I realize now that there was no single magic solution. It was the combination of consistent habits, environmental changes, and a transformed mindset that finally allowed me to sleep again. The human body has an extraordinary capacity to heal when we align with its natural rhythms, instead of fighting against them. If you're watching this and struggling with sleep, I hope my story gives you hope. Start with small changes: morning sunlight, consistent wake times, reduced screen time before bed. Keep a sleep journal to discover your own patterns. Be patient with yourself. Sleep isn't something you can force. It's something you create the conditions for. I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments below. What sleep challenges have you faced? What solutions have worked for you? This channel has become a community of people helping each other find better rest, and your insights might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. If you found this helpful, please subscribe to Sleep Sanctuary for more practical advice on improving your sleep naturally. And remember, a good day begins with a good night's rest, something we all deserve at any age. Thank you for listening to this old woman's story. Sweet dreams and good night.